Hey there. This is a bit more of a serious topic than my usual videos. This is going to be completely unscripted. I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know how long I'm going to ramble on for, but this is something that I want to talk about, so I'm going to do it. Where to begin? First and foremost, I'm not recording this on the day you're seeing this. I am actually recording this on August 25th. And you should be seeing this, if I did this right, on September 1st. Now, why that specifically? Well, let's start with the day you're seeing this. The day you're seeing this should be September 1st. That is the start of National Suicide Prevention Month. And I feel it is very important to give my thoughts. Now, why am I recording this on August 25th? I'll get into that later. Let's start from the beginning. Why should you listen to me? Simply put, I, for many years, struggled with depression. And there were times in that period where I did think about killing myself. It's not something I'm proud of, but I got better. And I'll get into that later, I guess. So, why was I depressed, first and foremost? I have been bullied my entire life. My entire life, I've been bullied for one thing or another, whether, it was my weight. I was always bullied for being underweight, just my appearance, or just whatever else. And people said some things that I won't repeat here. Some hurtful things. All that constant degrading, it really caused me to question myself. And oh man. All that degrading caused me to really question my worth and why I was really here if I'm not being appreciated by anyone, it felt. Now, my family, keep in mind, this is around 2020 when I really started to get depressed. It was around this time where my parents divorced. And at that point, I felt like I had nobody. I felt like I had nobody in my corner. And that's when, things really got bad. So, I'm being bullied. I feel completely alone. And my parents are divorced. All that just led to me spiraling. And I felt really hard. And it's hard to describe depression to someone who's never had it, who's never experienced it, because it's different for everyone. For me, it was feeling unmotivated to do anything. I never even wanted to get out of bed in the morning. There were some mornings when I barely got out of bed. For me, it was not enjoying the things that I used to enjoy with the same amount of enjoyment. For me, it was always getting in my head and thinking bad thoughts about myself, because it's what I've always heard. And admittedly, I still do that to a degree. And I'm not proud of that. That's something I want to work on. So, with all this, I said to myself, okay, how do I want to get better? How can I get better? I had an intervention with myself, and I tried doing some things, some new hobbies, if you will, just to give me an escape from this stuff. Something to take my mind off of everything. And eventually I came to a conclusion. Puzzles. I did a lot of puzzles. For me personally, sports were a great escape. Just something to focus on. However, the biggest one for me was writing. I really loved writing because it was a way I could just get my feelings out. And writing to me felt great. And it still does. I still write to this day. However, there are lots of things that I could recommend. Therapy is the biggest one. I never had therapy. And the reason I never decided to go to therapy was because I never told my parents. I have now. I have now, obviously, but I never told my parents. And that was probably a big mistake. And I'm sorry if you can hear that. A giant truck just drove by. But yeah, that was probably a big mistake on my part. Because looking back on it now, I really wish I had therapy. Because at times the only thing I felt like I had was myself. I felt like I only had myself to rely on. But of course, these sort of things don't work for everyone. At least my escapes, anyways. Maybe it doesn't work for everyone. Maybe reading works for you. Maybe therapy works for you. I mean, just try new things. Try out new hobbies like gardening or something. Try new things. That's one of the first things I'm going to say as to how I got better. Is I decided to try new things. I wasn't enjoying the old things that I used to enjoy, and I tried new things. And I got better. However, I obviously didn't get better right away. I ended up, at one point, this was the start of my senior year. I knew I was in a really bad spot, and at this point, I had decided, okay, things are not getting better, so I need to take things into my own hands. On the night of August 24th, 2023, I had an intervention with myself. I spent like 3 or 4 hours in my room by myself, all alone, quiet, turned off any technology, whatever. And I had an intervention with myself. I told myself, you're going to get better. You're going to get better. And then that morning, the very next morning, August 25th, 2023, marked the day that changed my life forever. Now, a bit of background information. At this point, I had been cutting myself on and off for about 3 years now. I had been doing that because, as I said, I was always bullied. My parents had just divorced at that time, and I felt alone. And so I was cutting myself, and I'm not proud of that at all. I still have some scars to this day. August 25th, 2023 marked the day that I put the knife down. And I woke up that day feeling the best I'd ever felt in my entire life. And I told myself that morning, I'm done. I am done with the knife. I am done with the bullying. I am done with everything. And I didn't mean it as I was going to commit suicide. I meant I was going to finally take a stand for myself. I was going to improve. First thing I did was I put down the knife and I stopped cutting myself altogether. And since then, I've been great. I really have. Since then, I've met some really great people. They're still in my life today. And I feel good about where I am right now. I have a great relationship with my parents, my siblings, my friends. I feel great. I mean, I guess that's really all I had to say. I just wanted to come on here and talk about my experience for a bit. And if even one person sees this, that's great. And it helps them, that's great. That's all I could ever ask for. I have this platform. It's not big or anything. I don't expect this to ever turn into a job or anything. But I want to try and use this platform to do something good. So if one person sees this and it makes a difference for them, that's great. That's all I can ever ask for. I've always been a people pleaser. I've always wanted to help people, even if that meant, I wasn't doing the best thing for myself. That was another reason I was in the state of the mindset I was in, was because I never prioritized myself. And that was another mistake I made. For me, there are two big things in my life now: my family and mental health. Those are two things at the top of the list. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And times have changed. Time goes by quick. And I find it better to not live your life in a constant darkness. It is so much better to try and enjoy some of the little things. You know, enjoy the view, enjoy the fresh air. The little things that you wouldn't expect to mean anything. But to me, they meant so much more than I would have ever thought. And it's crazy. But anyways, I'm rambling on now. Anyways, if you see this, anyone, you're awesome. And if you are dealing with that kind of depression, that pain, it does get better. You just have to have patience. Find the things that you think might bring you some sort of joy. Try new things, try new hobbies. Find a way to distract yourself, even if it's for a minute. You can do it. You're awesome. There are people that care about you. And you'll get through this.